Well, joining me now is Simmons from Solent Waspy. Shelagh, the government has said it will have a rethink. You were due to take them to a judicial review at the High Court next month. I mean, how do you feel about the fact that they're saying they'll look at it again, but they're not guaranteeing compensation?
Well, we're pleased that the government has actually conceded what we've always said, that the reasoning for the decision last December was flawed. We've said that from the start, and it was a real shock to us when they came up with these two reasons that were completely spurious. And they've now apparently found this piece of evidence that contradicts one of those reasons. And it just seems peculiar timing for us because the new evidence is actually old evidence, and it was commissioned by the DWP itself back in 2007.
And this was all about a consultation on whether women had received letters.
This was to do with automated pension forecasts, and it actually showed that women did read letters when they were sent to them, and they did act on them, and they understood them. So that blows one of the reasons completely out of the water. And, you know, for us, this is a good step forward, but obviously the timing is strange with the court case just weeks away.
Yes, strange, or do you feel time specifically, and what does it mean for your judicial review?
Well, I mean, we think that the government is desperate to avoid scrutiny in court by a judge, and so we think that's probably behind this. And we don't know what it means for our judicial review. Our lawyers are trying to establish that now, but for the moment we're pressing ahead with preparations for that because we don't know what's going to happen.
And last time we spoke, which I think was the beginning of the year, you said you were feeling hopeful about something from the new government. Oh, it must have been the beginning. It must have been the end of last year, to be fair. Before you know, you were feeling hopeful. How are you feeling now?
Well, we were sort of reeling a lot after the December decision because we'd had so much support from the Labour Party in opposition, and not just token support, but you know, really meaningful support in terms of having photographs with us, holding placards saying they were going to pay compensation if they formed a government. So it was a huge kick in the teeth for us, actually, and now we feel that there's an opportunity for them to put that right.
OK, Callum, I've got to come to you. There's a few things to pick up there. When I speak to people on the street, they always say politicians promise the world when they want to get elected, and as soon as they're in, they forget about us. That's how the Waspy women are feeling.
Well, can I first say, Shelagh, I have an enormous amount of respect for the way you've carried your campaign in Solent. I've spoke to Richard Quigley and Darren Paffy, and they both speak very warmly of you. This is a really difficult situation. I have a lot of compassion and empathy for the situation that women born in the 1950s had. I would say that, you know, I think it's absolutely right that we look at all the evidence. Clearly, it is not ideal that there was a quite potentially substantial piece of research or assessment that was done in 2007 that may or may not influence what the final decision might be. I think it's right that we take that into account. I wouldn't say that it's kind of. I think the timing is coincidental, but it's absolutely right that we look at all the evidence and then see if there is a change in the final decision about financial redress.
Jess, you'll have had contact with Waspy women too.
Yeah,
do you feel the timing is coincidental?
Well, I've had the pleasure of meeting Shelagh before alongside a lot of her tireless campaigners and advocates for all of the 1950s women. I've had hundreds of women from my constituency get in touch with me, some sharing really harrowing stories. And I guess the big thing for me is that why do we have an ombudsman? We have an ombudsman to reflect and work out whether there's been a failing in the system. And the ombudsman was really, really clear that Waspy women had been failed. And if we're going to ignore the recommendations of an ombudsman, if the government are going to ignore the recommendation of an ombudsman, it kind of calls into question what the point of that is, and that is meant to be the protection that is there for multiple different things. We have ombudsmans for all of the different departments. So, you know, the tireless campaigning should not be for nothing. It was a big moment this week when the government realised that they hadn't come to that decision with all of the evidence in front of them. So I'm really pleased that they're reopening and re-examining that decision because actually, if you've ever been on the Waspy website, there is nothing more awful than seeing the number at the top that's clicking up every hour of the amount of 1950s women who we've lost, who will never see that compensation.
I mean, let's be fair to Callum. the government has got a budget issue. Are you promising that if the Lib Dems were magically in government tomorrow, they'd fix it?
It's in our manifesto, and we're not in the mood to be breaking any manifesto promises. We always said that WASPI women deserved fast and fair compensation. And actually, for a lot of them, it's not about the money, it's not about the sum, it's about a recognition that they were failed.
I mean,
Can
Callum,
can
surely...
I just say, Emily, that talking about the money side of it, they've actually saved over £181 billion in increasing our state pension age, and what we're asking for in compensation is a fraction of that. And also, the government has suddenly found £2 billion for ID cards. That wasn't in the manifesto. So, you know, I think there is a way to do it.
We have to let Callum respond. Come on.
Well, I don't think the final sum for digital ID is very much to be confirmed, depending on its scope. I think the budget point, the money point, whilst I think it's not, we can't reduce it just to whether it's about the money, because I think you're absolutely right. It's a bit more about the broader injustice and bad administration that the Department for Work and Pensions and its predecessors had. But £10 billion which is what the Ombudsman suggested it would cost, is a lot of money. We are in an economically and fiscally challenged environment, and the Chancellor has to balance the books and make sure that we can account for all public spending. So it is quite a significant feature.
I mean, that must hurt to hear that actually it's expensive, and as you said, there is savings that they have made. This feels like it's getting urgent every day, doesn't it?
Well, time's not on our side, and you know, we've been victims of DWP incompetence right from the start, and successive governments have let us down, including this one. And it really is time for a resolution, so we certainly wouldn't want what's happened this week to be an excuse to kick the can further down the road. You know, this needs urgently to be resolved.
And Callum is nodding at that, so I think you would argue perhaps it would be cruel to have maybe said this week and then...
I wouldn't say it's cruel, because it's important that all the evidence, wherever it lies, is out in the open. I think covering up evidence, regardless of how difficult or uncomfortable it might make us as a government feel, it's really important that it's out there. So I don't make any apologies for that.
Thank you very much for joining us, Shelagh. We really appreciate hearing your opinions.